Welcome to Downtown Sports. My name is Downtown Steven Brown, and in today's video, guys, I want to talk about the last couple of games, the goaltending situation, a specific D pairing, the defensive depth that the Toronto Maple Leafs have, the big four, and the lack of scoring. And then I want to highlight a couple of guys throughout the lineup and give some updates on what my thoughts are so far. Starting with the game last night, losing that game in overtime to me, it doesn't look so good in the standings, but I thought that was their best game of the season. They absolutely kicked the crap out of the New York Rangers for 60 minutes plus the overtime. I think what you saw last night was Igor Shesterkin being Igor Shesterkin. And of course, it was Austin Matthews' first game of the season coming back off of off-season wrist surgery. And he had 8 shots and 16 attempts in this game, and he ripped a couple on the power play. Came so close with the opportunity that he had in the overtime there. Sometimes that's just hockey. The main story going into last night's game was Austin Matthews' return, but also another storyline going into the game was John Tavares and Mitch Marner. The top line that the Leafs had for the first 3 games of the season of Ritchie, Tavares, Marner, not only was it just straight up bad defensively, but it was frustrating to watch offensively. It just seemed like they could not get any bounces to go their way, but also they couldn't really sustain anything either. Although the top line last night of Nick Ritchie, Austin Matthews, and Mitch Marner did not find the back of the net, they controlled the majority of the shot attempt share, they controlled the majority of the scoring chances, and they controlled the quality of those scoring chances as well. If they're going to continue to do that, they will find the back of the net and they will score. I don't know how much of that top line success last night that you would be willing to give to Nick Ritchie, but if he's going to continue to play in the Maple Leafs' top 6 with either Austin Matthews or Mitch Marner or John Tavares or William Nylander, it's going to be in a complementary role. He's got to go to the net, he's got to be a big body in the slot, he's got to be a big body in front of the net, and he's got to keep his stick on the ice and just be ready for when that pass comes through, and he's got to make sure that he doesn't take any dumb, stupid penalties and lay the body every once in a while. If he was playing an offensive role in the bottom 6, maybe I would expect him to contribute a little bit more to driving the play, but being a complementary piece next to either of those duos, I'm really just looking for him to know his role and to do it well, like he did in the first game on the Maple Leafs' power play, just being a big body in front of the net and setting up that screen for Pierre Engvall. If he's able to do that at 5-on-5 for either of those guys, he's going to contribute to that line's success, whether it shows up on the score sheet or not. But that's not to say that his spot in that top 6 next to either of those duos is a for sure lock. Eventually, we're going to need to see some points on the board. Every time I am on naturalstattrick.com and showing a list of Maple Leaf players and where they rank relative to other forwards in the league, in terms of the scoring chances for per 60, I want to punch myself in the face as hard as I possibly can. Because there are over 200 forwards this year so far who have played a minimum of 20 minutes at 5-on-5. And when you see Nick Ritchie at 14th, John Tavares at 12th, and Mitch Marner at 8th on this list, and none of them have a goal to show for themselves, it makes your brain want to explode, because logically, the more scoring chances that you get, the more goals that you should score, right? And especially when it comes to John Tavares, because I've been showing the sheer volume of scoring opportunities that he's gotten over the last year and a half, and I've been using that as a way to say, yeah, his goal totals are down, but look where he ranks in terms of the chances, right? The bounces just aren't going his way. I don't know, John, what'd you do ever since becoming the captain? Did you fall ass backwards and break a dozen mirrors? Did you step on every sidewalk crack on the way to the arena every game day? Did you walk under a couple of ladders painting your house one summer? Who gave John Tavares the evil eye? When logic escapes you at every turn, sometimes the F word is the correct word. Just look at how often Sheldon Keefe uses it in the All or Nothing series. Sometimes when it comes to the Leafs, that's really the only thing that you could say. I figured I'd follow that up with something that just will make you feel really good inside. And that's that David Kampf has been really good this year, and it's been against the other team's best players. Engvall, Kampf, and Kasha together have been excellent. Now, the Kerfoot variant of that line with Kampf and Kasha last night against the Rangers was not very good. I don't know if that's a chemistry thing, it's just a one-game thing, if Engvall really completes that line or not, I don't know. But it is something that we're going to have to continue to monitor as the season goes on, because so far through an entire training camp and 4 games so far this season, Kerfoot hasn't found a home in the Maple Leafs' lineup. He has a lot of individual skill and talents that you would want on your team, but he needs to find a role. He needs to find a home, whether that's in an offensive spot or a defensive spot or the special teams, because he's looked good on the penalty kill so far this year. He needs to find something, because as we get closer and closer to trade deadline, cap space is very, very valuable, and he makes $3.5 million. I thought that this tweet was really wholesome. It just made me feel good reading it. That Michael Bunting, through his first 30 NHL games last year and this year, has as many goals as Crosby and McDavid did. He does have an abnormally high shooting percentage, but if you take a look at where he's taken his shots so far this season and even last year with the Coyotes, it's really easy to root for this guy. Someone who goes to the net, works hard every shift, takes a beating in front of the net and in the corners. The consensus was when the Maple Leafs first signed this guy that the more you watch him play, the more you will fall in love with him. And it's been awesome to see how many fans Michael Bunting has made just through 4 games this season. If you watched my season preview for the Toronto Maple Leafs, you know that I said that their goaltending situation has an opportunity to be both over and underrated. Underrated by how good both guys are when they actually are in the net. Overrated because both guys have a lengthy injury history. And it's such a shame, and it's why I get so upset with this team at times. Thursday night was his first game in a Maple Leafs uniform going into a 3-year contract, and the team in front of him absolutely sold him out. He allowed 3 goals in that game, but if you looked at the opportunities that the Maple Leafs' defense gave up, Peter Mrazek was keeping them in that game. In the meantime, while Mrazek is injured, Michael Hutchinson will be backing up Jack Campbell, and I believe he's going to be playing Friday night against the San Jose Sharks. You could do a lot worse for your team's third goalie than Michael Hutchinson, and if he plays between half a dozen and 10 games this season, yeah, maybe he's not the most consistent guy, but last season out of the goalies that the Maple Leafs had, he didn't play all that bad. Now, I'm not ripping on Carlo Koliakovo here because I may be a TSN intern in a couple of months. We'll talk about that and see how it goes. But there was a lot of discussion surrounding Timothy Liljegren and the one game that he played when he subbed in for Justin Holl because he was sick. And the base of what Carlo had said is that if Timothy Liljegren is their 7th defenseman this year, the Maple Leafs are in real trouble. And the poll is basically agree or disagree. And Carlo later went on to clarify that maybe it's the guys that are not in front of Liljegren or behind him that he's worried about. Because usually when you go on a long playoff run, you use 8 or 9 defensemen. And yeah, okay, fine. But the one game that Liljegren did play, if you look at the advanced numbers, they're decent enough. I mean, there was one turnover in his own zone that oh my God, why did you do that? But at the same time, he was playing with Jake Muzzin in an elevated role in the lineup. I would like to see more. Come on. I want to see more. Maybe he's not that offensive dynamo that he was when he was first drafted, but the Maple Leafs have done a hell of a job trying to develop him into a 2-way defenseman. And if the future of the Maple Leafs' D-core is going to be Sandin and Liljegren, similar to what maybe Morgan Rielly and TJ Brody have with each other right now, I don't hate that. But getting into the deep pairings a little bit more, and Jake Muzzin and Justin Holl have been awful so far through 4 games. I know that Holl missed a game with an illness. I believe there was like a stomach flu going around the Maple Leafs' locker room. That is their shutdown pairing, so they do play against the other team's better players, but those guys need to be better. And maybe it is just as simple as maybe they were both a little bit ill, not feeling that great. Jake Muzzin played through it, Justin Holl couldn't. I don't know, because Jake Muzzin looked so good in the preseason, and then all of a sudden to start the year, just not so hot. I know it's been on the third pair so far, maybe in a bit of a sheltered role, but I've loved what I've seen from Rasmus Sandin and Travis Dermott so far, especially Travis Dermott. I mean, coming into the year, he was a huge question mark because he takes steps forwards and then he does the spinorama in his own zone and gives the puck away. But he always does stuff that gets you back on his side, including that TJ Brody butterfly move that he did breaking up the 2-on-1 a couple of games ago, just making good, smart defensive plays. And if he can continue to do that, that third pair is going to be a strong suit for this team this year. And hopefully the other two follow suit and do what we know they can do, or what they have done the last couple of years. I don't know how long this video is at this point. I don't want to make it too long, but I'd be remiss if I didn't mention how great Jason Spezza, William Nylander, and especially Jack Campbell have been to start the season. I'm sure we'll get many more opportunities throughout the year to talk about just how great those guys are playing. But Bringing up the list of Stanley Cup habits here, and a couple that you guys added from the previous video, are having killer instinct, putting away leads and just not allowing other teams to get back into the game. Sticking up for your teammates, because when one guy does it, it gets everyone involved. And when you have everyone involved, you can play a more complete game and have a team effort. But I'm going to add one on there myself, and that's body language. That is one thing that Mike Babcock did preach in his tenure here that I really did agree with, because you can give and take a lot of energy off of someone just from how their body language is responding to certain scenarios. Let me know down in the comment section if you have any Stanley Cup habits that should be added to this list, because come playoff time, I want to have like 100 of them on here. But that is going to be it for this video, guys. Make sure to like the video if you did like it and subscribe more, because more is always on the way. I don't really know how to feel so far. No goals from Matthews, Marner, and Tavares, but they're 2-1-1 so far on the year. I don't know. I guess let me know down in the comment section how you guys are feeling about the Leafs, and I'll see you in the next one.